welcome back, you viewers, to my channel on an everyday life of an Aspie. If you're new to my channel and you landed on my page, I welcome you all. I'm Aspie. I'm all about creating mental health and awareness, sharing my life stories with Asperger's syndrome, OCD and the like, alongside with tips and advice on how to manage and cope with your everyday situations. I also share some other everyday topics that may come to light as a form of encouragement and support to you all, so to speak, so I can be your mental advocate, encourager, whatever you may be labeling me as at the end of the sum. So at this point in time, as I shared maybe so many times before, which I can't stress it enough, even though there's a lot of broad topics on the mental health versus the topic, especially what I want to talk about of the nitty gritty that does exist basically, that's going to be on hold for now, and I'm just going to focus on some of the autism and theories for you all that may want to learn more about certain everyday topics that you may come across. So this one's all about autism and vaccines. The question is there any link between them both? Obviously, as you know, that you hear many people share this topic based on their opinions and that, but to me, obviously, this is based on my opinions and research and whatnot. Obviously, even though many people still have in their mindset that, some of the vaccines that their kids had on the preset of those measles, mumps, rubella, especially at their tender age of 2-3, has caused autism basically for the child. But obviously, that's not really 100% true. Obviously, even though, the genetic inherited trait is started at their age 2-3 years of age for a child, basically, that is maybe, co-given from a parent or a generation from a grandparent or somewhere in those genetic links. So it's all in the genetics side of things of autism, how it works basically. So not further ado, guys, basically, also I'm no medical doctor, I'm just normal everyday Joe Blogs, so I'll be sharing some of the stuff and some of the science and systems you may see. If it doesn't seem fit for you, seek professional help for yourself or your loved one, as well as seeking professional second opinion. And also give and take what I give you out to you, even if it is some tips and advice along the way. Bear with me, some of it did work for me on managing and treating my everyday personal struggles of my mental health conditions and whatever else, so that hopefully maybe we can just respect each other's differences of opinions, so that, in the way of it, that we can just, accept each other's differences and whatever else that may be. So, as I said before, I'm talking about autism and vaccines. Is there a link between them is the question. I'm going to do a quick overview of what a vaccine is and how it works and whatnot before I get straight into the information that I want to share with you all today. So hopefully you're enjoying these videos. Give me the like pretty much to show that you're engaging and actually liking these videos, and also maybe commenting below. A bit of feedback along the way will be much appreciated. So let's begin this. What is a vaccine? A vaccine is a product that produces immunity from a disease that can be administered through either needle injections, by mouth, or by aerosol, or even just basically just any form that is given by a doctor. A vaccination, however, is the injection of a killed or weakened organism that produces immunity in the body against that organism. So I'm obviously differentiating between a vaccine, vaccination and immunization, so we can get a clearer understanding here. An immunization is the process by which a person or animal becomes protected from that form of disease that they've been vaccinated by. Vaccines causes immunization, and there are also some diseases that may cause immunization after an individual recovers from the disease. But however, from what I researched, what Wikipedia has defined vaccine, it is basically a biological preparation that provides active acquired immunity to a particular disease. A vaccine typically contains an agent that resembles a disease-causing microorganism and is often made from weakened or killed forms of microbes as toxins or one of its surface proteins. The agent stimulates the body's immune system to recognize the agent as a threat, to destroy it, and to keep a record of it so that the immune system can more easily recognize and destroy any of these microorganisms that it may later encounter. Vaccines can be prophylactic, for example here, to prevent or ameliorate the effects of a future infection by any natural or wild pathogen, or therapeutic, which is, for example, vaccines that are against cures that has been investigated. just to bear in mind, hopefully I'll have an illustration to show you all how vaccines work and whatnot, so that you can get a clearer understanding. So, for how the vaccines work, obviously, the immune system for us human bodies is a complex network of cells and organs that evolves to fight off any infectious microbes. Much of the immune system's work is carried out by an army of various specialized cells, each type designed to fight disease in a particular way. The invading microbes first run into the vanguard of this army, which will then include the white blood cells called the macrophages, literally big eaters, or as I clearly remember them as little Pac-Man eating along the way. The macrophages engulf as many of the microbes as they can. The antigens obviously sound the alarm. How these macrophages recognize these microbes is the question you may be thinking. All cells and microbes wear a form of a uniform made up of molecules that covers their surfaces. Each human cell displays unique macromolecules unique to us. Microbes display different macromolecules unique to them. The macrophages and other cells of our immune system use these markers to distinguish among the cells that are part of the body, harmless bacteria that reside in your body, and harmful invading microbes that needs to be destroyed. The molecules on a microbe that identifies it as a foreign and stimulates the immune system to attack are called antigens. Every microbe carries its own unique set of antigens, however, which are central to creating these vaccines. Macrophages digest most parts of the microbes but save the antigens and carry them back to the lymph nodes, which are your bean-sized organs segregated throughout the body where immune system cells congregate. In these nodes, however, macrophages sound the alarm by regurgitating the antigens, displaying them on their surfaces so other cells such as specialized defensive white blood cells called lymphocytes can recognize them. Lymphocytes take over. There are two major kinds of lymphocytes, which are your T and B cells. They do their own jobs in fighting off the infections. T cells function there offensively or defensively. The offensive T cells don't attack the microbe directly, but they use chemical weapons to eliminate the human cells that have already been affected. Obviously, because of this, they have been programmed by the exposure to the microbe's antigen. These cytotoxic T cells, also called killer T cells, can sense disease cells that are harboring the microbes. The killer T cells latch onto these cells and release chemicals that destroy the affected cells and the microbes inside. The defensive T cells, also called the helper T cells, defends the body by secreting chemical signals that directs the activity of other immune system cells. Helper T cells obviously assist in activating killer T cells. And helper T cells also stimulate and work closely with B cells. The work done by T cells is called the cellular or cell-mediated immune response. B cells, however, on the other hand, makes and secretes extremely important molecular weapons called antibodies. Antibodies usually work first by grabbing onto the microbe's antigen and then by sticking and coating the microbe. Antibodies and antigens fit together like pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. If their shapes are compatible, they bind to each other. Each antibody can usually fit with only one antigen. The immune system keeps a supply of millions or possibly billions of different antibodies on hand to prepare for a new foreign invader. It does this by constantly creating millions of new B cells. About 50 million B cells circulate in each teaspoonful of human blood, and almost every B cell, through the random genetic shuffling, produces a unique antibody to bind those microbes. Antibodies in action. The antibodies, obviously secreted by the B cell, circulates throughout the human body and attack the microbes that haven't yet infected any cells but are lurking in the blood or the spaces between the cells. When antibodies gather on the surface of a microbe, it becomes unable to function. Antibodies signal macrophages and other defensive cells to come eat up this microbe. Antibodies also work with other defensive molecules that circulate in the blood called complement proteins to destroy these microbes. The work of B cells is called the human immune response, as I said, or simply the antibody response. The goal here for most of the vaccines is to stimulate this form of response. In fact, many infectious microbes can be defeated by antibodies alone, without any help from the killer T cells, clearing the infection, memory cells, and natural immunity. When T cells and antibodies begin to eliminate the microbes faster than it can reproduce, the immune system finally has the upper hand. Gradually, the virus disappears from the body. After the body eliminates the disease, some microfighting B cells and T cells are converted into memory cells. These memory B cells can quickly divide into the plasma cells and make more antibodies if needed and required. Memory T cells can then divide and grow into a microfighting army. If re-exposure to this infectious microbe enters or occurs, the immune system will quickly recognize how to stop the infection. How vaccines mimic infection. Vaccines teach the immune system by mimicking a natural infection. For example, the yellow fever vaccine, first widely used in 1938, contains a weakened form of the virus that doesn't cause disease or reproduce very well. Human macrophages can't tell that the vaccine viruses are weakened, so they will engulf the viruses as if they were dangerous. In the lymph nodes, however, the macrophages presents yellow fever antigen to T cells and B cells. A response from yellow fever specific T cells is activated. B cells secrete yellow fever antibodies. The weakened viruses in the vaccine are quickly eliminated. The mock infection is cleared, and humans are left with a supply of memory T and B cells for future protection against yellow fever. Right, a causal relationship between autism and vaccinations has been widely discussed ever since the 1990s with the MMR, or measles, mumps and rubella, as well as the mercury, which is in the form of thimerosal. The primary areas of concern, which was obviously much of the controversy about this vaccine of the MMR and autism has followed the work by Andrew Wakefield and his colleagues in 1998, however, which was published in a well-respected medical journal, The Lancet, but then was later retracted by the journal in 2004 for both scientific and ethical flaws. Wakefield was struck off the UK Medical Register for his fraudulent paper and widely discredited it. Many well-researched, peer-reviewed articles in well-established journals have disputed the idea of MMR that caused autism following the 1998 publication. A lot of research has been conducted in this area which was unable to replicate the results. For example, basically, I'm going to share a diagram for this to illustrate, just to let you know, and some maybe, if you want some references, I'll link it in the description. Infographic by Healthcare Management degree. A study of 500 children found no link between autism and vaccines. 2002, a study from Denmark of 537,000 children found no link. 2002, a study from Finland of 535,000 children also found no link. 2004, The Lancet, the publisher of the original Wakefield paper that was in 1998, released a statement refuting the original findings, saying they had conducted invasive investigations on the children without obtaining the necessary ethical clearances, picked and chose the data that suited their own cases that falsified facts. 2005, a review of 31 studies covering more than 10,000 children also found no link. 2012, a review of 58 studies, including 5 randomized controlled trials covering over 14,000 or 14,700,000 children, also found no link. Maglione et al. 2014 has identified that despite the numerous studies that confirming the lack of association between MMR and autism, parents continue to be concerned about these vaccines. The purpose of their research was to review a wide range of studies to summarize their evidence and to rate the strength of these collective evidence that was shown in those years. They found that some vaccines are associated with serious adverse events. For example, they found a high association between MMR and anaphylaxis in children with allergies and febrile seizures, for example, convulsions triggered by high temperatures. They didn't find any evidence of the MMR vaccine being associated with autism, however, and in fact found high evidence that MMR isn't associated with the onset of autism in children. Obviously, as I said before, there is no scientific evidence to support the claims of a causal relationship between MMR and autism. Despite a lot of concerns surrounding vaccinations lead back to mercury and thimerosal particularly. Thimerosal is a mercury-based preventive used in some vaccinations and other pharmaceutical products. Thimerosal has never been present in the MMR vaccine that was used in New Zealand and has been phased out of all vaccines used in New Zealand since the year of 2000, including the current influenza vaccines. It is, however, still used in some vaccines overseas. The global increase in ASD diagnosis hasn't been linked to mercury exposure apart from in isolated cases, so it cannot possibly be causal to the increased prevalence of autism diagnosis worldwide. I might talk more about autism and mercury if you want to know more about this, if there's a link to that as well, but this is just a brief overview of it as well. Mercury has been identified as toxic for many centuries, with most of the environmental mercury coming from coal fire stations, waste incinerators, and mining. Methyl mercury is the most widespread source of mercury exposure and occurs most commonly through the diet through fish consumption, as cited in Gorani et al. 2014, Kuhn, Gear, Skies, Haley and Geyer 2016. There is somehow some evidence to suggest that maternal consumption of fish may impact the children's language, IQ levels, memory, attention, and visual, spatial, and motor skills. There are some studies that suggest methyl mercury may also potentially be involved in autism development, but there is no means consensus and further research is needed to prove this case. Despite there being many recognised neurotoxicity of mercury, there is no established link whatsoever between thimerosal and vaccines and any adverse effects, and no causal relationship has been found between thimerosal and autism, as stated by David Newman, the chair of the Paediatric Society of New Zealand, Personal Communication, March 7, 2017, that has been done. The key fact is that even if thimerosal was linked to autism, which isn't, New Zealand childhood vaccines haven't contained thimerosal since 2000, making it impossible that mercury in vaccines is in way linked to the reported increase in autism diagnosis in New Zealand here. The science facts about autism and vaccines. What started the rumours? In the year of 1998, obviously, Lancet published a paper by Andrew Wakefield. It was a dramatic study that found a connection between autism and vaccines, so they thought. The study had some problems, however, based on those findings, which are not based on the statistics, no control group. It relied on people's memory, made vague conclusions that were statistically valid. No link was found, so people started investigating his claims. Followed by Dr. Wakefield's studies, here's what other rigorous studies was found. 1999, a study of 500 children, no connection was found. 2001, a study of 10,000 children, still found no connection linked up to autism and vaccinations. 2002, a study from Denmark of 537,000 children found no connection, which obviously, as I stated this before. 2002, a study from Finland of 535,000 children. Guess what? Again, no connection to the findings of autism and vaccines. 2004, Lancet released a statement refuting the original findings. They had conducted invasive investigations of the children without obtaining the necessary ethical clearances. They obviously picked and chose data that suited their case, that falsified the facts. 2005, a review of 31 studies covering more than 10,000 children also found no connection. So no link to autism was found in any of these cases suggested in all of these studies. Vaccine vilification survives. A quarter of the US parents believed some vaccines cause autism in the healthy children. 1.8% of the parents opt out of vaccines for religious or philosophical reasons. There has been 0 critical studies linking vaccines to autism. Recently, an anti-vaccine religious community has seen measles outbreaks. There was a tweet that said there has been 0 credible studies linking vaccines to autism, although declared eradicated in the year of 2000. France reported a massive measles outbreak with nearly 15,000 cases in 2011 alone. The UK reported more than 2,000 measles cases in 2012. Before widespread vaccinations of babies. In the year of 1980, 2.6 million deaths from measles. In 2000, 562,400 deaths, 72% of babies were vaccinated. In 2012, 122,000 deaths, 84% of babies were vaccinated. In the United States alone, whooping cough shot up in 2012 to nearly 50,000 cases alone. A new study concluded that vaccine refusals were largely to blame for a 2010 outbreak of whooping cough in California. It is clear that immunization protects children from diseases and save lives. Outbreaks of many deadly diseases are on the decline globally thanks to these vaccinations. Immunizations can help many dangerous childhood diseases. Just like the smallpox, they too can be wiped off the face of the earth. In the US, however, alone, they almost had whooping cough beats in the 80s. Then Dr. Wakefield's fabulously flawed paper was published. Common vaccines myths. Vaccines are ridden with toxic chemicals that can harm children. Thimerosal, the chemical being reinforced, does contain mercury. However, thimerosal has been removed from scheduled vaccines and only resides in the seasonal flu vaccine. The decision to not vaccinate my child only affects my child. Unvaccinated children who contract a disease can infect infants yet to be inoculated. The small percentage of people whose vaccines didn't take and people with compromised immune systems. Receiving too many vaccines at once can override a baby's immune system. Babies' immune systems are strong enough to defend from the day-to-day viruses that we receive, as well as the bacteria that comes into contact with the child. They can also handle the vaccines. Remember, vaccines are deactivated viruses in their ingredients. Drug companies just do it to make profit. According to the World Health Organization, or WHO, it has been estimated in 2013 global revenues for all vaccines is around $24 billion, which only accounts for approximately 2 to 3% of the total pharmaceutical market. Vaccines work. Positive effects of vaccines. Helped eradicate smallpox. 2. Saved about 8 million lives every year. 3. Significantly reduced disease in the world. 4. New and underutilized vaccines could avert nearly 4 million deaths of children under the age of 5 by 2015, which we've been and gone. In summary, the one study Wakefield et al. 98, as I said, has clearly suggested vaccines caused autism has been discredited many times by scientific researchers, and the original article has been obviously retracted. The research evidence therefore strongly supports a lack of association between autism and vaccinations. So therefore, basically, as the saying goes, that there's no link to this in summary as well. So this ends basically autism and vaccines. Is there a link? Give me a like, thumbs up, comment below, follow me on my social media sites listed below. Feel free to subscribe if you haven't done so. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so that you can also be up to date with my new content of what I do on the daily or weekly. Feel free to share these videos around to family and friends. And all for the day, guys. Thanks for your support. Thanks for watching. Do what you love what you do. Until next time, Aspie signing out. I'll see you.